Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming along today. It's great to see people in person. We've had to do the AGM online for the last couple of years. So this year we're doing a hybrid event. So we've got a number of people joining from across the world online. So welcome to you as well. My name is Mike Ross. I'm president of the Watt Club, and this is my final AGM. So I will finish up at the end of this month. And we'll welcome Kieran in as our new president. Now, a couple of admin stuff before we get going. There's no fire alarm planned, so if it does go off, I'm informed that some people will escort us in the right direction, given we're all this side of the room, probably through this door just behind us. Those of you online, if the alarm does go off, keep an eye on things. We'll hopefully get back and continue with the discussion. Now, there's two parts to today. We're going to be having a fireside chat with Cameron Miller and talking a little bit about the university, kind of past, present, and future, and thinking through some of the experiences that we've had and sharing some interesting stories as we go. During the evening, if you're online and you'll be able to ask questions, if you're in the room, you'll be able to put your hand up. I'll open it up to questions. We've got this lovely spongy cube here with a mic in it, which I'm told I can throw out into the audience if there is anyone that wants to ask a question. And Gavin is on hand as well. Who's quite challenging task it is in terms of making sure all of the technology works. So hopefully everyone online, I hope you have a good experience as well. So without saying anything more, I'd like to welcome to the not quite stage over here. I'll welcome Pat up first. So Pat is Vice President of the Watt Club, and Pat, I'll let you do a quick intro in a moment. I'd also like to welcome Cameron up to the stage as well, and we'll start a bit of a discussion and start to share some thoughts around Harriet Watt, past, present, and future. So, hopefully here. So, Pat, I think it's worthwhile just doing a very quick intro from you in terms of you've had quite a long association with Harriet Watt over the years, and now the Watt Club.
Yeah, no, I came to the university. I hope everybody can hear. I came to the university in 1989, and I graduated with a PhD in 93, and then I stayed on in petroleum engineering as a researcher and a lecturer, and eventually getting a chair, and also having the running of the institute, which was always challenged inside a university, and then moved on to court, and also have been involved with the Watt Club pretty much since I discovered it, which probably was after my PhD when I was a member of staff. I probably didn't aware that there was a Watt Club when I graduated. I think that's quite common. People don't, it's much better now than it was. But the Watt Club originated back in 1854. They put a statue, the statue that is out in front. In fact, it's a model of the statue that we see in front of the university at the entrance now. That was put outside the Watt Institution, Edinburgh College of Art, and the Watt Institution in 1854, and to celebrate the connection with James Watt, which was attached to the name of the institution to represent the engineering, I guess. And so the directors of the institution at that time, they went to celebrate in the Café Royal, and to this day, and we are going there on the 19th of January. We will meet in the Café Royal and we will sup and toast James Watt. And so that's how the club started, as a bit of a excuse to go and have a drink in the middle of January, I guess, and keep warm through the winter. So that then, of course, the university in the 1870s, it changed its name to Harriet Watt College. Money came in from Harriet. They kept the Watt name and they put the two together, and Harriet Watt College. And Mike has just been showing me some medals that the Watt Club awarded in 1911, 1913 in a couple of subjects that you can buy on eBay. So you can get a Watt Club medal on eBay.
If you weren't lucky enough to be the top,
if you weren't the top student, you can now buy one. But they're only in bronze, because right now we award medals in silver. And in fact, Mike awarded 3 on Tuesday, and I awarded 1. So there's a number of students that win these every year, and they really must be the top students. So they are definitely people that we should keep track of in the future. And so the Watt Club was really outside the university, but over the 90s, and then as people got more aware of alumni and more activity, and the university took on more activity connecting with alumni, social media came along and even more activity. The Watt Club has slowly moved closer and closer to the university, and in fact, over the next year or so, probably move closer still, and that's something that we will discover or we will discuss maybe later this evening. So that's a brief history, a long history of the Watt Club, and it's a great privilege to serve as its vice president for the last 3 years.
And taking a step back from a moment, Cameron, you've had a lot of experiences and you have a lot of engagement with the university at the moment. I don't know if you want to talk a bit about that in terms of some of the connectivity that you have in at the moment.
Yeah, so like my connectivity with Herrick Watt goes back to, I guess, when I graduated in 1989. So just when you were starting at Herrick Watt, your journey and the path of this fine institution. I was just graduating in economics department under the School of Social Sciences. Back then, we weren't based out here at Rickerton, we were based in town. We were in the Mountbatten building of the Grass Market, which is now a hotel. We did most of our lectures and exams in that building. We had lectures in the mining building. Don't know if anyone here in the audience or online remembers the mining building, which had a long history with the university going way back. It was up a back alley of Grass Market. Can never remember where. And then we were also in Chambers Street, which was probably the principal building of Herrick Watt. Pat might remember more detail from his heritage knowledge. But you go in where the courts are now, that was the main entrance. And then on the left-hand side was the principal lecture hall of Herrick Watt, massive room.
So everything that's out here on this campus, did that exist during your time, or was it just getting built?
Well, that's another story. So the campus out here was they started to build that in the 1970s. And it was quite a long rollout program to get everybody out here. So it was quite disjointed when I was out there. And when I was in Grass Market, we didn't really feel connected to Rickerton campus. And it's quite funny, graduates like myself, alumni, we don't feel the connection of Rickerton so much that more recent graduates have. And our history is more in town. And
you found that as well as the university opened up more international campuses. The connection is with Herrick Watt rather than and the location that you studied at, but everyone's got a different experience.
Yeah, heritage is a funny thing, isn't it? It's like people want to go back and reminisce over their lecture hall, or they want to go back to the pub where they used to drink, or the student union where they used to hang out. For campuses like Rickerton and Malaysia and Dubai and the Borders and Orkney, we've got so many locations now, and we have so many online students as well. So there's probably less attachment maybe to buildings. I don't know.
Yeah, or everybody has a different attachment.
Yeah, I mean, certainly leading the heritage tours. So over the last 2 or 3 years, I've led heritage tours, probably about 100, 200 people I've taken on heritage tours, tracing the different buildings around the centre of Edinburgh, up to Chambers Street, which is opposite the National Museum, and pointing out where the buildings were. Some of them have gone. You know, the Chambers Street itself, the end of Chambers Street was where the Watt Institution was. It was in the middle of the road, basically, now. You know, so it has gone. So you can't see some of the old buildings. So, but you can see the heritage. You see the Grass Market. You can point out the hotel. You can see the mining institute. You can see these buildings all there. So it is quite interesting to track that through. But of course, since that time, moving out to Rickerton, which, you know, when I was a student in the around 1990, I think there were still things going on in town, and we weren't completely on campus. So that's a 20-year journey to come out to Riccarton. And of course, being involved in the setting up and seeing Malaysia, seeing Dubai set up, and where I went to teach occasionally. I never taught in the Malaysia campus, but the university has grown so much. We mustn't forget Orkney, where I was involved in the Orkney Institute, which was part of my school at one point. So these buildings all grew up, and I think the journey forward is more and more expansion. So heritage is quite important, but it's not the only thing, you know. So and the heritage that people have in Heriot Watt is very different depending on where they study.
Yeah, and if thinking about it, as a number of people in this room, we've had a connection into the university and been able to get involved with a lot of stuff. So for a lot of people, they'll graduate and then there'll be a bit of connection there back into the university. I don't know, Cameron, how did you start on that journey in terms of, because you probably graduated, left?
Yeah, so I graduated in '89, and then it's like, I think not Sir, I don't know what he is, David Steele, the MP, is probably a lord. He might be listening, he might be tuned in, might be watching. But I think he was Chancellor at the time, and he did my graduation, which was in town. It wasn't done out here at Ripston, we did it in town. But then we got bussed out here to do the garden party.
Did you?
And for some of the students, it was the first time I'd been to Ripston. It was quite bizarre. And but anyway, yeah. And then after that, it was like, see you later.
Yeah.
Have a good life. Send us a postcard. Nobody does. But we kind of, friendships had obviously grown for university, and you form little cliques of friends from university, and you get together and you do kind of traditional reunions every couple of months, and then careers get busier, people have kids or get married, and it's every year, and it's every couple of years. Yeah. But the community stays in touch, but not through the Watt Club and not through the university. And I think our generation of the 1980s, we kind of, I don't know, we left university, we grew up and we left. But I think now the Watt Club is more mature, there's more of an offering, there's more of a community, and with online activity, it's far easier to stay connected through the university.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose that connectivity opens up opportunities that come as people progress through their careers. So now I think all of us have been on the university corps, so the senior governing body, and a whole host of other things. I don't know if you want to talk about some of that and like, why did you decide to do that?
So yeah, what am I involved in? So about 10, 12 years ago, somebody contacted me and said, would you like to do some careers mentoring? I was already doing it for Edinburgh University, and I think they'd heard about that, but it was a Heriot Watt alumni. So I said, why not? Yeah, I went to university here. So I took on, I got contacted by Karen Beattie, who works for the careers office, and I think she's still at Heriot Watt and still running the program, and it's fantastic. As an outsider, I took on one student a year, tended to be, because I was economics, and that's where kind of my career went as well in the City of London. I took on one student a year and mentored that student, normally a third year. I'd help them with the CV building. I'd help them with summer internships, how to get one, how to apply for jobs, how to think about what type of career we're going to have, what to think about professional qualifications once they graduate, where to work, how to connect into other kind of Watt Club type of people once they get to certain cities. And it was great. It was fantastic. I did that for a number of years. And then somebody from Development Alumni, I think they might be in this room, asked me, would I donate to the university for some of the good causes, for some of the scholarships? And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll do you something better. I'll donate you some of my money. So I was asking him, what do you do with the money that you raise? Before I knew it, I was on the endowment committee, which looks after the cash that's raised for the good causes. We have an endowment pot, and I joined that committee, and then after a few years took over as chair of the committee and joined the court of the university, which is the governance body and oversees the strategy and the executive team. So it's like a non-exec board. Also joined the finance committee, joined the infrastructure committee, who became lead governor for the engineering and physical sciences. No, what's it? EPS?
EPS.
Yeah. I just know that's EPS.
How did you manage that? Because you've got economics.
So Cameron ended up working almost full time.
Yeah, almost full time.
No salary.
Yeah. Having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking about your, I suppose, family history and connection to the university, you've got quite a rich heritage there. And
Yeah, so I went to university here in the 80s. My grandfather, on my father's side, he went to Watt College. He was born in 1901. I don't know the exact dates because I can't find it, but I think he was here straight after the First World War, early 1920s, and studied pharmacy. And went on to basically set up Boots a Chemist in Scotland. So he worked for head office and then opened up most of the branches in Scotland for Boots a Chemist and pharmacist. My father went to Watt College. Well, he kind of duffed up his school life and then bounced around, ended up in the world of working as a draftsman for an engineering firm. And they basically took him on as a graduate apprenticeship.
okay.
And he went to night school. So he worked 5 days a week and went to night school at Watt College and became a chartered civil engineer. So it's almost like a professional course stroke graduate apprenticeship back in the day, 1950s. And then my auntie on my mother's side, she studied pharmacy in the 1950s as well. And then me in the 80s. And then my son is here currently at the Edinburgh Business School. So we've got the 2020s covered as well.
Yeah.
So we've got 100 years of
100 years.
family history.
Did you say he has an exam in the morning or something?
Yeah, he was going to join us tonight, but he's got an exam in the morning. So he's watching, we're studying.
Fun in the background, multitasking.
Multitasking.
But the mentoring program, I don't know how many mentors we have, but I think there's a significant amount of people that get involved, not through the Watt Club per se, but they get involved through their schools. And I was, as a head of school, I was very aware of all the alumni of our school, and we had very close association with the school, but not so much at the university level. So I think that's something that certain schools have very strong links with people on their advisory boards, on their mentoring, giving lecturers, generally being involved in the department, helping with internships, helping with studentships, and all of these things happened without the university really knowing or keeping track of that. So I think there was a lot more engagement, and there still is a lot of engagement that doesn't necessarily come through the Watt Club. So the Watt Club is not the only the only method to stay engaged with the university, and that's something that we also need to think about going forward. Because it started as a sort of drinking club or a dining club, as it were, in Edinburgh, because that's where most of the graduates were. But once it's gone to this multi-campus, multi-universe, metaverse, whatever it is out there, it's almost like how do we get the idea of a club going, which is then spread globally. We have 152,000. Is that right? Were people 152,000? I heard that at graduation. 152,000 alumni out there.
And that's the thing. It's like we've talked about it. Three of us. I used to sit in the council as well. We used to talk about it. It's like the Watt Club. How do we think about the Watt Club? It used to be very Edinburgh based because it was mainly locals that went to the college or university here. And then we've gone global. We've gone multidiscipline in terms of what degrees we do. And it's like our alumni are spread across the world. So do we think about it geographically? Think about New York, Houston, Hong Kong, Sydney, wherever, Norway. Or do we think about it by degree type? And kind of look at students by degree.
Or even sector that people have ended
or
up
sectors that people have ended up in, whether it's banking or
brewing and distilling.
brewing, whatever it might be. There's so many cross connections going on. It's unbelievable.
And the real challenge, and as we talk a little bit about the future, the real challenge is, okay, on paper, big network, 152,000 people, sounds great on paper, but how do you really charge that network and get a lot of energy and a lot of connections and connectivity going? I suppose there's a lot of the stuff that a lot of us will have had discussions about. And going back to what you were saying before, the kind of informal class reunions and people that that we don't hear about, we don't know about, all goes on. And all those connections that you just happen to run into as you go through your kind of day-to-day.
I think when you graduate and you join a Watt Club immediately, you're probably a taker of the Watt Club.
Yeah.
You want the introductions to the employers. You want to get to know people, your peer group in the town that you end up working in. So you're using the connections, and you want to get some career advice as well. And the Watt Club's there for that. It can provide all of these things. And then as your own personal career takes off, then it's time to start giving back and maybe providing some career mentoring and support other people coming through the system, and be there and organize some events or a little drinks party or a speaker event, whatever it might be in whatever location, whatever subject. And then as time then goes on, it's then, like for me, I had in the 1980s, I had a free education.
Yeah.
So yeah, should I give back to the university? Yeah, why not? I did very well for my degree. It gave me a huge step in life that I wouldn't have achieved without having that qualification.
Well, the university gave me 2 degrees and they've given me my salary for 20 years. So, it seems sensible to give some stuff back. So I enjoy giving something back, and I enjoy reading about the things that is supported by the Watt Club and the donations, and whether it's some of the refugees that we funded, whether it's providing English courses for Ukrainians that are here, come over, Ukrainians, whether we're giving funds for students to travel to conferences, where that's how they, as Adrian Todd used to call that, the golden key, because you go out almost with your degree and you meet people and you start to talk, and once you find somebody else from there, all of a sudden you've got an entry. And that's how you often end up getting jobs. And I've certainly seen people talk to other alumni and then get into the jobs market, which is increasingly competitive. So no, I think the Watt Club is there for everybody. It's their Watt Club, as the principal would say. It's our Watt Club. It's their Watt Club, and it's up to you to use it to further both your own agenda, but also the university's agenda. And while a university is difficult sometimes to feed in and to see it move in the direction you think it should move in, I think it is a listening organization broadly, and it will hear what you say. And the Watt Club will have the ear of the principal and the court members. When I was on court, I think there were 2 alumni out of 20, 30 people, 20 on the main court, but 30 if you have all the other committees. I think we're only 2. But now, we have a chair of court who's an alumnus. We have Cameron that sits on the committees. We have other court members out there. We have Brian Henderson, who's he's actually the Watt Club representative on court, although you're not allowed to bring, he doesn't speak for the Watt Club. He just brings his experience of the university. So, the embedding of the people that have studied in this university in effectively the management committee is very important.
And the university also it's got a values-led strategy at the moment. First time ever we've been values-led. And that's been important. One of our ambitions has been to improve global access to students. We're a global university. We've got campuses obviously in Malaysia and Dubai. And we set up the 1821 appeal a few years back. It was quite difficult during the COVID period, so it was slightly delayed. And we raised £4.6 million for access for students for a lot of scholarships. And that's amazing. A big chunk of that cash came from alumni. It came from the connections. It came from people wanting to give back to the university. And that's just inspiring. It's just like, wow. And the impact from the donations that we've had, it's helped women in STEM subjects get access to university who couldn't afford to. They've got scholarships. We set up a maths gym. So when I was at university, I was struggling with econometrics. And the lecturer just stared at me going, why don't you get it?
I'm sure a lot of economists.
Yeah.
empathize with
Whereas
that.
now we have a maths gym, whatever subject you're doing, you can go along to the gym and brush up on your maths skills for students. You don't have to be embarrassed, you don't know it. You go along there and brush it up. You can get simple stuff. Go and work it out. But the Dennis Goldberg program, which is amazing. We have given away 10 scholarships to professionals in Africa to do a distance learning course on an MSc on renewable energy. And it's just like, wow, we're not just thinking about our campuses, we're thinking really globally. So here what's connecting in, and it's all from alumni money. It's impressive.
And there's a talking about that values, like this isn't just something that we've started to do in the last couple of years. I think there's a really rich heritage, and a lot of people will come into Harriet Watt from different roots, from a broad church.
But as well as the acting globally, thinking locally, thinking globally, acting locally. I mean, we're also trying to improve the connectivity with people in the local community, because they need access to universities as well. Even people in Wester Hailes, so from Wester Hailes to Africa and beyond. And I noticed that there was a story out on LinkedIn about a refugee who was involved in Beirut in the explosion, and their family are living in a refugee camp. And she graduated as a graduate at Harriet Watt this year. So we certainly seem to be reaching out into places that you only read about on the news, and you want to help in these areas. And how do you do that? Well, through Harriet Watt, you can actually help in all sorts of places around the world. I think it's a great method of getting out there, thinking locally but acting globally, which is Patrick Geddes coined that. And of course, he was a very famous 19th century social reformer, and he taught botany at Harriet Watt College. May have taught one of your ancestors.
I'm conscious of time. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions or any insight that we might be able to provide or advice. I don't know if you've had any questions, Gavin. It's fine.
I'm seeing some comments up there. Somebody's enjoying themselves, and there's some smileys. And
Mike, how about I ask you a question, because you've been asking us questions. So I'll ask you one. We've heard about what the Watt Club, how it started way back in the day, a bit of a drinking club and toast James Watt. And then it's kind of moved on to groups of students, alumni meeting together in their own little cliques. The Watt Club's continued throughout the whole time. So we've kind of seen where it's come from.
Yeah.
What's the impact of the Watt Club today? We've heard about that with career stuff. What else can Watt Club members benefit from? And how do you see it? Like you two, I feel like it's Doctor Who show tonight, the program Doctor Who, where it's like, we've got a new doctor coming, and it's like a quick flashback through some of the old doctors and how life used to be like, and then a little bit of vision into the future.
Yeah.
What's a Watt Club in the future?
So I come back to this kind of global base of people, 150,000 people around the world. The Watt Club of the future, in my mind, is you feel part of that 150,000, and there's a connection there that allows you to supercharge what you want to do and the impact that you want to have in the world. That's at a very high level. Trying to put that into practice is really difficult. There's so many things that need to come together, and you see lots of stories where chance encounters happen and certain people meet at the right points in time, and those ideas and connections come together. And really, for me, the future is about trying to create more of that and bring people together and create that connectivity. And if you're really successful in doing that, that's when you have those big ideas, but actually are then able to turn them into action. And that network is part of that. And I think there's a big part of this, which is you tell people that they've got this network and they're connected in, and it's the big sales pitch that you give to people. There's a responsibility on alumni as well to recognize how to use that network and to educate themselves around how they tap into it and how they use it and how they amplify their impact. So a lot of it for me is just around we're on the right route. but how do we accelerate it? How do we do more?
So is it technology based? Like we've tried it with the Watt Connect program. It didn't quite work out. Is it LinkedIn? How do we?
I think one of the interesting things that's happened in the university is the role of volunteering, and I think this came a little bit from Malaysia, where I think it was driven by Malaysia to get volunteering credited on your degree certificate. And I remember that the Watt Club gave some prizes for volunteering to some of the students in the early day, and that's been kind of taken over. But I think this idea of volunteering and getting that into the mindset of the students going out is also something that's reflected in, I was looking at the branch feedback, and people are wanting to do, use the Watt Club as a mechanism for social change in other locations. And so, if you get into this mindset that you're not only learning the technical stuff, but you're also learning that there are people out there that need help, and volunteering for the Watt Club, volunteering. Wherever you go in the world, there will always be places that you can volunteer locally. And I always thought that the Watt Club would would be a mechanism for bringing funds to bear. And often it's not always large funds that's needed, small funds to bring people together. And I think that's where the Watt Club has helped. So I like to think that it could be a volunteering organisation.
We talk about online technology being a disruptor and bringing people together. I don't necessarily always see that. Sometimes it has the opposite effect, and people think that they're still connected in, but you're not really connected in and engaged. And I think for me, the thing that I've tried to figure out is how do we create more opportunities? So it's all very well, you happen to have the connection and you deliver a guest lecture, but how do we create that for more people? And the mentoring side of things is a great example. So how do we create more of that and pull everyone in and create a connectivity?
Joe, just picking up on that, you painted one picture of mentoring. The very enlightened companies in my network are using reverse mentoring. They're using the people who are coming up early stage to actually mentor them. So I think you've got to give people in the club purpose. So turn it on its head, and I think we need to be innovative. So actually the next tranche of grads coming out should be taking some of us dinosaurs under their wing to give us a little bit of experience. And I think then it becomes a two-way street. And guess what? That's a value proposition that people want, because I think if we go down the conventional route, you're kind of right, you lose that bit when you're middle in your career, you don't need it. I think we need it all the way. So just that one mentoring thing needs to be kind of considered. We could do that.
Yeah, that's opportunity. It's all about how do you do more of that and create.
Also, the university, the connectivity into the university itself, and to use channels and connections of industry, schools, the GRIs, the Global Research Institutes that are being set up just now, are just inspiring. It's just like, why wouldn't you want to be connected into that? The Robotarium, the Lal Centre, the Net Zero Research Institute, and one on the biomedical sciences. Very exciting areas of research. And when they start doing events, I'm sure lots of Watt Club members will want to turn up and be part of that story, be part of that journey. It's exciting, really exciting.
Of course, the university does offer discounts to students that want to come back after a degree and upscale to new technology, and there are new courses. I've got degrees in 3 different decades. So doing updates is something that the university, with its new courses, you've got the Robotarium sitting out there, so all this AI connectivity. I think the university is launching a new course in aerospace. So I think this is a new. Scotland actually has an aerospace industry and is actually going to be launching, Scottish satellites and things. So it's a very, the university is always building new courses, new ideas, and so people, there's nowhere better to come back to the organisation and
all the way back to 1821. The university has been fantastic at providing courses for workers, for working people, whether it was making watches, mechanics, electrical engineering.
Farrieri, which is putting horseshoes on horses. They used to do that as well. We used to teach how to do that.
Yeah, they're very good at doing great courses. And it does feel like a bit of a revolution going on just now with data, with the carbon capture, with the biological sciences going on. It is a massive revolution. And we're at the heart of it. So alumni should want to connect into that.
So I'm conscious of time, and I think what we'll do is we'll wrap up now. Cameron, I don't know if you've got any last closing words that you want to.
Last closing words of wisdom. Oh my goodness.
No pressure.
No pressure. I would just say to anyone out there, get involved. It's an exciting club. We're all members. You can be radio silent for decades, and you can be active for a short space of time. But wherever people contribute in, someone's going to get benefit on the flip side. Use it. It's a great club. It's a great way to socialize. It's fantastic for people to talk to others in their kind of career subject.
Thank you very much, Cameron and Pat.
Yeah, the stage.
Yeah.
We'll let you carry.
Yeah, I'll get Pat to. I'll come back up. Come back up. Yeah. Just. So we're going to move on to a slightly more formal part of our agenda. Let me just get the slides up here. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to do a short welcome here. So a couple of things that I'd like to highlight. So we ran elections recently. I think we had around about 19 candidates just for the ordinary positions, and we elected 4 people. So I'm delighted to welcome Aoife, Michelle, Maria, and Chucks onto the council. They'll start from January, and we'll start to do a bit of handover there. I don't think any of them are in the room, but some of them might be online. So if any of them have any questions for me, feel free to ask away. And the other person to welcome as well, Kieran, who's in the room. I don't know if you want to do a wave. So Kieran has put himself forward for president. Kieran's been on council for the last couple of years. And Kieran, I don't know if you want to say anything, any introduction. I'm putting you on the spot here. I'll do it. That's fine. And you'll hear from Kieran in future meetings. We've actually got here, and we'll get a photo later, Kieran. We've got what happens with every president. There's a baton going all the way back to 1854, and each president gets their name engraved on it. We ran out of space on the first baton. This is the second one. So I'm going to do at some point, probably towards the end, actually hand the baton over to you. And at some point, you'll get your name engraved on that as well. But we'll talk about it a little bit later. We've run elections for a number of years. What we've noticed with elections is turnout and people voting is gone down significantly over the years. And some of the stuff that we'll talk about later around how we enhance engagement and use the Watt Club Council and the voice that we have around that. I think the election part of it and how we engage through that is something that we'll need to consider going forward in terms of how that all fits together. Now, I'll move on just to some of the more formal stuff. So the minutes we recorded last year, so that was our kind of formal minute of the meeting. There weren't any matches arising from the last meeting that we had any action to take around. We usually would do, if we had a kind of a note of a minute, we would do an approval. We have a recording. I don't propose approving a recording. It's a verbatim of the meeting. So it's just a note that that's there if anyone wants to look back at what we've done in previous years. So, I had a bit of an echo to it. What I'd like to talk about is, so we've been doing a lot of thinking. I mean, this thinking's been going on for years and years and years around where does the Watt Club and the Watt Club Council fit within the university structure. So I want to talk a little bit around where we've come from, where I think we're going to, and some of the direction. And I want to just explain a little bit around the structure and how we fit in. So I think it can be, it's taken me years to get my head around it in terms of where we fit in, but I'd like to just talk about that so you can see that a little bit, and probably lay out the case for change, and what the future could look like in terms of how do we get to that place where we're able to make more connections, generate kind of more activity, and really make sure what we do from an alumni perspective is aligned with where the university is trying to get to and how we can get there. So for me, there's a couple of things really. So if we go back to where the Watt Club came from, it started out, a couple of things it did were award Watt Club medals for outstanding achievement for students. And it did a fundraising element as well. So it was just volunteers who had gone and decided that actually we wanted support students to come back into study as well. So we raised a pot of money. Over the years, as development and alumni teams got professionalized, we started seeing universities create their own teams. And what happened is the Watt Club Council, it went from being a charity in its own right, or the Watt Club, a charity in its own right, and slowly over the years, a lot of the operational activity, like managing a list of members, there's a lot of GDPR regulation stuff that sits around it, all that stuff transitioned into that professional service. And what we've seen as that's happened is a lot of the activity that we did do is now undertaken by a professional service, rightly so. But a lot of the questions and a lot of the discussions that we have around, okay, so what is our purpose? Where do we fit in then in this context? We're no longer the charity. We're no longer us as the Watt Club Council doing the fundraising aspects. We just end up doing a lot of what I'd call kind of governance stuff. A lot of people are really passionate and got lots of ideas. We recognized that we needed to kind of shift and kind of reinvent what we look like going forward. So I want to talk through some of the ideas there. What I've put up in here is at a very high level. Really what we want to do is support the university to achieve its strategy. And some of that is through time commitment in terms of inputting into industrial advisory boards or sitting on some university committees to share experience and insight. The other side is recognition and using that really powerful brand and continuing that really rich history that we've got. The other side of things, which is I think really important for all of us, is creating that kind of high impact global network that we're all part of, so that you can then think about and know how to use that in order to shape your career, enhance your career, allow you to advance quicker, build a really strong network, and advance and achieve what you want to achieve, really. And the other thing I've put here is around heritage. So there's a really important kind of heritage and legacy there, and Pat's done some fantastic work over the last few years around that, and kind of recognizing that and drawing out some of the stories from our history. So that is a kind of very broad brush. Here are the things that we want to start to line up behind, and I don't think there's anything contentious here, but it's how do we structure ourselves so that we can achieve some of these things a bit better. So this, believe it or not, is a simplified picture. We have Watt Club Council off to the side here. Got a development alumni office, professional service around it, and through various reporting lines, they report into the university executive, and a university executive are accountable to the court of the university. We've talked a bit about that before. That's the senior governing body of the university. It sets kind of the strategy and direction. And there's a couple of things to point out here. So there's a link between Development Alumni Office up to the university executive. We have really good relationship with the Development Alumni Office. There's lots of conversations. It's very ad hoc though. And there's also some links in that we have with the university court. So we mentioned before, we have we're involved in the process to appoint a member of alumni to the university court. So that is Brian Henderson at the moment. Now, what was quite interesting with that process when we ran it, we had around about just under 70 people who put their names forward for that position. Some fantastic people in terms of their careers and some of the impacts that they've had within industry, wanting to get involved, not because they wanted to get involved in higher education, but because they wanted to get involved with Heriot-Watt and to give back there. So we've got some engagement with the court. Our kind of constitution and governance sits as alongside the kind of university charter and statutes. So there's a formal relationship there, but we don't really have what I would describe as a really strong link in there. So if we go back to what I was saying before, we want to be able to support the university in terms of what it's trying to achieve. If we don't have that strong link into the court, the university executive, you can start to see how we kind of feel out here, out on the limb of it. There's a lot of the time, not with any bad will, but we kind of hear about things after the fact, or we read about them in the news or any of that kind of stuff. And a lot of the time, what we want to be able to do, particularly within the council, is going back to some of the stuff we were talking about before, be able to input and to do it in a strategic way that allows us to kind of really have much kind of higher impact outcomes than just individuals trying to push forward an initiative by ourselves. So it's trying to think through, are there better ways for us to do that? And there's some great examples where we as alumni have had quite a lot of impact. The question that I always have is around, could we be positioned in a better way to have a greater impact, is the way that I think about it. So that's kind of a very brief, here's where we are at the moment. I don't know, I know there's a few people on council, I don't know if anything else to add in. Joe, we'll get you the cube. I don't know if anyone online
if you went back one slide, Mike.
Yeah.
And I know it's wordsmithing, but support the university to achieve its strategy sounds a little bit passive. Why can't we influence? Because if you're really pulling on the alumni, you would really want to have that feeding in. And I know you've got industrial advisory boards, but I think just changing that word from support and maybe even where possible help influence would actually give it a better fit for where it might want to go.
It's interesting you say that. I skipped over that because I think we had a lot of influence into the strategy when it was formed, but post.
So I'll back that up. So I just sat on one of the groups today looking at the skills delivery in Scotland, which is effectively Skills Development Scotland and Scottish Funding Council, and the industry groups basically said the way to fix it is to listen to industry, coming out loud and strong. So if the university want to work out what they need to do, they need to listen to the constituent parts of people who are going to go through and some of the people who have been through and are actually the recipients of that skill network. So I think, not being funny, it's trying to kind of make sure that that's heard. And if that's what our government are doing as part of their strategy for NSET, then you would think an institution like Heriot-Watt would be prepared to also take that on board. Now, depends on what level of influence you have, but not wordsmithing, but I'll pass it to Cameron. You might be hoping he'll agree with some of that.
Yeah, no, Joe, you speak wise words. I think you're absolutely right. And in terms of the university strategy, it's very much led by its stakeholders. And when it was written, it's a 2020-2025 strategy just now, and all the stakeholders were talked to and questioned and consulted and sat in committees and all sorts of stuff. It was a big conversation. And the biggest stakeholders are students, staff, alumni. And then it's industry, it's government, it's global. It's like, because we were in so many locations too. So it is complicated. There's a lot of voices, but absolutely, Joe, you're bang on. It's like strategy is led by the stakeholders, because that's who we're trying to deliver it for.
But I mean, there was court strategy meeting yesterday, and I'm not sure the Watt Club was mentioned in the strategy. It certainly wasn't involved directly. There are representatives there, but the Watt Club So there is this disconnect. So yes, when you look at the Watt Club, Joe, so coming in through the Watt Club, that's not the same as all the connectivity. So we're only a subset of that. So the Watt Club has to work out, its time commitment and how best to support the university. And what I think Mike is saying, it would support it better if it was closer. I think that's what's being said.
Yeah, where my thinking was around, there's already been a lot of input around the strategy, but post that, again, it's that two-way influence. So support has a certain connotation around it. It's that kind of two-way ongoing dialogue to take the strategy and then make sure it's shaped up in the right way.
It makes sense being drinking from if you don't have a chance to influence.
Yeah, well,
exactly. So I think that's the nuance. I think.
Yeah, we just sit around and meet and have good conversations, but don't really do anything with it. Gavin, I think there's a question.
Yeah, I've got a question online, Mike.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with the Watt Club is it lacks clear, strategic and joined up offer for current students. It's too removed from students' daily lives, and at times it competes with the existing student unions.
Sorry, I missed the last bit.
That's okay. It's too removed from students' daily lives, and at times it competes with the existing student unions. That's from DT. Thank you.
I don't know if anyone.
Didn't hear the question. Sorry.
Hi, so I'm Kieran, the incoming president of the Watt Club, but I was back in 2019, 2020 president of the student union, as was Mike a wee while before me.
Yeah.
I think a kind of slight rebuttal to that. I think the Watt Club and the student union have very different roles. The student union very clearly is there to represent and to enhance the current student experience. The Watt Club definitely should have engagement with current students as they will become members, and we've got the mentoring, and Joe's idea of that reverse mentoring I think is really good, but I think they have very different roles in the constituents are very, very different.
And I think it almost coming back to the opportunity piece, you don't always think of stuff as branded up as the Watt Club, but people in a lot of ways coming in are alumni who come and deliver guest lectures, who are helping to shape some of the curriculum around the industrial advisory boards and what goes on there. So I think it's almost hidden behind the scenes in a lot of ways. But I mean, the Watt Club and a lot of the work that we do in terms of dispersing funds and choosing student projects to support, you don't always necessarily realise, like an invisible hand almost. So there is part of it which might just be a branding thing, and then part of it as well is you can have this great kind of utopia where you want to be, but in order to deliver it, you need huge amounts of resources. So that's always the really tricky balancing act, is based on the resources that you have. Like, it would be amazing if we had lots of people being able to get in and push this and make the connections, but we don't always have the luxury of having that. So there's lots of I was just sharing a few kind of snippets on that one. I want to move on just in terms of, okay, how do we start thinking about this? And this is some of the stuff that Kieran will start to think through and work with others in terms of shaping. So we've had some good discussions with the university. I mean, we're pushing it an open door to some extent. They were saying, well, yes, we want to make sure things are positioned in the right way. What we've started to land on is, suppose this view. So the Watt Club Council acting in a more strategic role, working with the Development Alumni Office, is trying to formalise that. There's a number of kind of operational activities that happen within the Watt Club. So we have a small budget that we look after. Okay. Is there? Who's the speaker? I just stand up. Is that okay? Yeah, we'll do it like that. Because I'll end up pacing. So what we have within the council is a number of kind of operational activities that we still do, and there's bits of budget that we still manage, that aren't really adding kind of much value in terms of our skills and expertise. So there's some activity around putting the Watt Club Council more directly aligned and more formally aligned with the Alumni Office, and looking at how we transition some of those operational processes. So like the finances side of things, how do we transition that over to the team? Our budget already sits within a bigger pot of money in the Development Alumni Office. Getting rid of a lot of the excessive governance that we have around a lot of things, so it simplifies it down quite a lot. Looking at how we work with branches and how we be a bit more strategic with that sort of things. And then again, coming back to elections, I think there's a challenge around whether we should look at more of a kind of co-option model in terms of how we kind of pick out areas where we can get alumni involved. So all of that is in the mix and in the melting pot there. And the way that we drive that forward is positioning the Watt Club Council a little bit differently. Some of the things that we need to think about as well as part of that is how do we formalise that relationship and make it a little bit more meaningful into the university court. And the other thing with this is I haven't drawn it on here, but is how does the Watt Club Council connect up with the university executive and have that tie in there on that and the engagement there. So this is kind of very high level, but broadly speaking, it's about making sure the Watt Club Council is in the right position and it has the right connectivity into the university and better alignment. And really, why do that? It comes back to how do we make sure that we are really effective and really impactful with the resources that we've got, and how do we make the right strategic bets on things so we don't try and do everything all at once. But if we think the right place to put our resources behind is around mentoring, for example, we're all trying to figure out how do we line up behind this and how do we really do this at a really high level. So all those kind of things that we're not, a lot of people are need to come together to really have that impact. So it's trying to get us to a better place there. So this is a really high level model. Adam, I know you're here on the alumni side of things. I know we've had a lot of discussions about this. I don't know if you have anything you want to maybe share. We've got the cube. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
So I don't know, worthwhile doing an introduction, Adam.
Yeah,
later.
Absolutely. So I'm Adam Gillis. I'm the Alumni Engagement Manager for Heriot Watt. I think you've set the scene well, Mike. I think what we want to do as a team, as an alumni team, support council and make sure that you have purpose and influence across the university, because we can see that council currently has a lot of skills and expertise that we can rely on, and has it always been best placed or utilised? I think we all know that it hasn't always. We have leaned on you for advice and support. There's not always been a framework or a real structured way for you to feed into university since we've had this transition from operational Watt Club Council to sort of non-operational Watt Club Council. And I'll put our hands up. Maybe the reason this has fallen down because we've come in and professionalised some of the services, but it's a transition and it's just what's happened. So I see this as a positive way forward for the council. I see it a way of bringing it back in closer to the university and having more influence in the right spaces, and a way of adding more value, I think, from the people who have that skill, those skills and expertise. Yeah, I see it as, I'm sure there's a lot of discussion to be had, a lot of things to be sorted out to get this in place, but I think it's something that we should continue to discuss over the next year.
Absolutely. Thanks, Adam. So really we wanted just to share some of the thinking and to try and put it in a simple form on a couple of slides. I don't know if there's any questions. Go online first. Any questions from anyone in the audience? I think we'll wrap it up there and we'll get through the rest of the agenda. And there's still, for those in the room, there's still some drinks outside left. So, Pat, so as part of the AGM, we look out to our branches that we have around the world and ask to get an update around the activity. Pat, you've had a chance to go through some of the branch reports. I don't know if you want to share.
Yeah, I can briefly go through some of these. We have the branches are formally recognised. There may be informal groups all over the world getting together and through their connections, but there are formal branches. Informal branches have committees, and they're set up and we know where they are, and they're meant to supply a report. So we have a report from just 4 of these offices, maybe 5. The London one probably reflects a lot of people's activity has been rather limited. Rebuilding social activities, what they're focused on, and they are planning to have some key events in 2023. So that's the London group. The New York group marched in the Tartan Day parade in April and attended the events around that. And they joined the local UK alumni events as a British pub quiz. I didn't know there was a British pub quiz in New York, the local British pub. Now, Emily here is modelling the Herrick-Watt tartan, and Emily has attended this event, so there is a connection there, and Emily is quite nice because she also has a connection with New York. So maybe Emily could get engaged with the New York Watt Club, because there is a New York Watt Club out there. Norway had quite a big event. In fact, it's probably the biggest Watt Club branch event that was held, and it was held by the principal there, plus the British ambassador, and over 100 Herrick-Watt alumni attended a meeting, and that was a high quality meeting. And the Watt Club in Norway works with the British Norwegian Council Chamber for Commerce, and that association has been re-established by the development and alumni team, really, not by the Watt Club, but there is a link there, and they're looking to establish Herrick-Watt Club Norway sponsorship for bright Norwegians, lots of those, to attend Herrick-Watt who could otherwise not afford it. Historically, Herrick-Watt has, at one time there were more Norwegians studying at Herrick-Watt than any other university, so Norway has a long tradition with Herrick-Watt. The other 3 that I have information on: Singapore, there's quite an active committee. They have regular virtual meetings. They've have various webinars from all sorts of issues. I think they've had around 12 webinars which are free to Watt Club Singapore members. So they're quite active. In Toronto, that met 12 times last year, had business meetings, had a successful pub night. So there's still drinking going on amongst the Watt Club branches in certain parts of the world. And they're looking to bring new people on board. So if you're anywhere near Toronto, there is an active Toronto Watt activity. And the previous Watt Club chair, Norman set up the Zambia group, which is very proud, but Norman's gone back to have a very high position within Zambia. And the new committee there was installed. And they're interested in partnerships with organizations of social good. So this comes out with this volunteering link. And there are issues with the MBA scholarships, because there was the Watt Club scholarships with MBA students that, and there's some issues to be followed up there in Zambia. So Zambia, Toronto, Singapore, Norway, New York, that's the activity that we have. And I'm sure there's more activity, but that's the ones that we know about now.
Some of the highlights. Yeah. Thanks, Pat. And what we've got is the reports that the branches have sent in, and we'll get them collated and sent out to people in case you want to hear a bit more about some of the activity that's been going on. But thanks for that snippet of insight there, Pat. We will move on now to the finance side of things. Within your bags, if you've got the bags there, you'll have a couple of papers which just highlight our accounts for the previous year and our budget for this year. If you're online, I think there'll be links. So if you look in your email, there'll be links to the papers. So what I want to do just now is just talk through the finances for the last year and just provide a bit of commentary around those. So let me just get the papers up here. Can I get a paper copy of them if there's one around? So we have a budget of £15,000. Just the papers. Paper copy of it. Oh yeah, sure, in the bags. Awesome. Thanks, Gavin. So we have £15,000 that the council has discretion over. The sorts of things that gets allocated to, so elections, that costs us around about £3,000 to run the elections. We've done a lot of work to try and bring that cost down. I think if we'd have stuck with, we used ERS, which is an Electoral Reform Society, I think we would have been up to about £6,000 or so if we were still using them. So we managed to use the student union's election system. So we managed to keep some costs down there. But what other things we have, we fund the Watt Club medals. They get awarded at graduations and present those. We also support with the money that we have as well. We support the branch activity. So typically if branches are looking for funding, we usually do a funding call, and that's kind of pots of usually have about 6,000 or 7,000 that we have allocated. That's just a kind of a brief overview in terms of where some of the money goes. For the previous year, what we had was there's a couple of things in here. So we have a secretary in place, and because of the work that's involved with that, we award an honorarium. Now, we didn't accrue any costs this year because that was paid out of the central budget, so it's just a zero item, but that was paid elsewhere. That may get charged back at a future date, but at the moment there's just nothing against that formally on our accounts. The other thing to note is we did do a call for branch funding, and we've still been in quite a challenging situation in terms of kind of events being run in branches as various areas of the world have sort of come out of various stages of lockdowns. So again, we didn't have many applications in terms of funding at that point in time. So not much of that money was tapped into. We also had a set of activity that we intended to put against our accounts for last year that we weren't able to do in the way that we wanted. So what ended up happening here is it looks on our accounts like we haven't spent money, and it's not because we haven't tried to spend it. I just let it sit there. It's just the way things have ended up working out in terms of where we've ended up having various pots allocated. What that's meant is, so another example is what we have typically done in the past is boost our surplus of medals, and that's quite high at the moment. So what ended up happening was the money that we had left over fell to the university bottom line, and then going into next year we'll reset at 15,000, and then I'll pause there for a moment. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that, or if there's any questions online. It's not, we're not talking millions and millions of pounds of money here. It's just a small pot of money that we try and allocate where we can. I think moving to this year, there's a couple of things just to, actually there's one thing to probably just flag in here and put Gavin on the spot. I don't know so we funded an event in Malaysia, kind of Watt Club Malaysia Homecoming. I don't know if you want to just talk quickly about that, 'cause that was a big event in the end. So I'll put everybody else.
So what did we do? So we had 100 people roughly come to campus. It was part of an open day actually, but we also had 100 alums come back, and I hosted a Q&A session with an alum called Farouk Abdullah and one of the academics there. Farouk heads up the SOS, he's part of the SOS advisory board. So he spoke to that and why he gives back and why he gives back his time. So that was fantastic. And then we hosted a lunch as well for everyone that attended. But yeah, we had about 100 people. And it was really good. Yeah.
So there's stuff like that comes up that's kind of opportunistic, and it's I don't think we expected that number of people. So
we were delighted. I mean, I think we were there in person because of graduations, and so we wanted to maximise being in Malaysia. So it was a really good opportunity.
It was great to be able to fund it and get.
It was. And we were really grateful. The registry team had graduates coming to collect their gowns on the same day, so campus was full. It was great.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for that, Gavin. I thought that was worth just pulling out. In terms of our accounts for this year that we're in at the moment, it's very, I suppose, quite generic in nature. We've got the election costs, which we've just incurred. We've still got some items around secretary and an honorarium around that. We don't have. I'll come on to it in a bit. We've got some money in here around the kind of medal side of things to pay for that, and then we've also got what I've kind of bracketed as a development fund, which is to fund branch activity, but also for Kieran and the rest of the new members of council coming in. So there's a pot of money there in terms of thinking through, is there some things that we would like to support and allocate funding to. So there's a bit of a pot of money there. So I think when you look at these and what I see from these quite a lot of times is there's a big chunk of our money we spend on elections. If I look at turnout at the last set of elections, I think we did a lot of publicity, a lot of marketing. I think how many people? 150 people voted out of that huge network. Now there's lots of reasons for that, but it doesn't represent good value for money in terms of engagement and the money that's there. So that again feeds into what we were talking about before and how we might structure things going forward. And I think that's it. It's not the most complex budget in the world. We do what we can with what we have. Yeah, any questions? Nothing. I'm happy with that. Get through things quickly. The next item that we have is an update from the university. I think it's quite good at events like this just to hear a little bit of what's going on, and Adam's kindly agreed to share some work.
It's taking us off the screen. People are saying they can't see it, so we'll just stop share. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Adam, see it there.
I'll hand over to Adam. Is that how you're going to do it?
No, I saw someone doing it once, so I thought, try. Can everyone hear me okay? Thanks, Gavin.
The camera.
I feel a bit awkward being on camera, right? Good evening, everybody in the room, and good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you're joining online. And it's great to see people joining online this evening, as well as having people here in Edinburgh on a chilly, snowy night, I may add as well. So thanks. I've got a few pages in my hand, don't be alarmed. I'm going to go through this quite quickly, but I wanted to give you more of an update from the alumni team as opposed to the wider university. I'll talk to aspects of the wider university as well, and give you an insight into what we've been doing in the past year and how we've been connecting in with our Watt Club Council and wider Watt Club. Give you a little bit of an insight into our strategic approach for engagement over the next few years from alumni team perspective, and also just to give you a couple of things to watch out for in the coming months. So over the past year, the DAO, which is the Development Alumni Office, we've been working hard to support alumni community and to, as was mentioned earlier, help the university meet some of its strategic aims and objectives as well. I'll repeat what was mentioned earlier as well, is that we've got 152,000 graduates in over 190 countries now. So a real breadth of expertise and knowledge and different people with interesting jobs and amazing careers in different places. So it's our real pleasure as an alumni team to engage and to meet with these people and to bring them back to the university and to share their success. And I think I speak on behalf of the whole team when I say the last few years have been tricky with your working and engagement, and we've had to pivot a lot of our activity. And Joe, I know that a man in a similar kind of world, it's been hard, but it's also been an opportunity. And we've moved online with a lot of our engagement activity, and there's been lots of benefits to that. But we're really, really happy that we're getting the chance to meet people in person again, and we're excited about meeting up in person. So our approach going forward will be that we'll meet our alumni in person. We want to keep connecting in with you, but we will continue to connect with you online through our online events, through video calls, and through our social media channels, because we can reach so many more of you. So what has our engagement been like in the last year? In short, it's been good. It's been good. When we started to record engagement a couple of years ago, around 2020, I think, our engagement score was around 35% with all contactable alumni across the world. Last year at this time, it was around 48%. And slowly we've grown that this year up to 52%. So that's a steady growth. And I think that's not bad, actually. We'll never be able to be engaged with every single alumni all the time. And I think that's as an aim of the team is to have a volume of engagement across the world, to maintain that volume of engagement and to where we can grow that volume of engagement. Strategically as well, we want to deepen engagement with alumni. And that's for the benefit of our graduates, but also for the benefit of the university. And I wanted to talk just a little bit about our strategic pillars, which we've created in the last few months, and which will help us be a little bit more aligned with the strategic I can't get this word out tonight. Strategic objectives of the university, but will also help us improve our benefits and services and engagement with alumni. So we've got 5 strategic pillars, which I want to share with you, just to give you a little bit of an insight into where we're coming from and where we're going in the next couple of years. The first area that we want to concentrate activity on and support is our alumni offering. So what is it that we offer out to our alumni in terms of not just the alumni team, but the wider university? So we've got a bit of work ourselves as a team to go out internally and find out what are the other things that we can do as a university to support our Watt Club members. And we've got some benefits that are available just now, and we've improved on those benefits in the last couple of years. I'll talk to our website in a little while, but we've put more of those up on our website in the last few days, actually. And there's some great things coming out of the university, and I think we can continue to build on that. And it's crucially about the need of our alumni community as well. We need to listen, as Joe mentioned earlier, we need to listen to what our alumni community is saying to us. What do they need and want, and we need to respond and really make sure that our programming is alumni-led. Second one, we want to support the lifelong careers of our alumni. That's because we want our alumni community and our Watt Club members to be successful in their lives. And there's lots of opportunities for us at university to do that. The first obvious one for us is that we offer an alumni discount for future study. So anyone who's done an undergraduate degree with us or has done postgraduate and wants to do another postgraduate degree with us gets 20% off broadly across postgraduate taught degrees and Heriot-Watt online degrees. That's something which might sound simple, but it's quite difficult to agree across campuses, across schools, across programs. But we're getting there now, and it's something I think is tangible to offer back. There are lots of other opportunities within Heriot-Watt for our graduates to continue to upskill. And those are, of course, we've got paid for courses and degrees, but there's opportunities to attend events where we will share knowledge and share expertise and open up networks. There are opportunities to link in with areas of the business school, such as executive education. And there are many other opportunities coming out of the university. It's about us as a team linking in and tapping into those resources and opening them up to our alumni community. We want to thirdly enhance the reputation of Heriot-Watt, because we want to make sure that you as Watt Club members are reassured that Heriot-Watt is a great institution. And we heard about that through discussion earlier on, our strong heritage, the areas that we're excelling in the moment around our GRIs, our Global Research Institutes. We're a stone's throw away. Don't throw a stone at Robotharium, we might get in trouble. We are a stone's throw away from the Robotharium here in the Postgraduate Centre tonight. And there's a lot of exciting things that we can talk about, not only as an alumni team to our alumni, but also as a Watt Club community amongst ourselves, but with prospective students, with our colleagues, with people in industry, because these are the ways that we can add value to the university and help to maintain the reputation of Heriot-Watt. And of course, we want to share our alumni success, because your success, we jump on the back of it. It's great, your success is our success, and vice versa. Fourthly, we want to open up volunteering opportunities and opportunities to give back, and it's the same link to the sort of benefits and services. There's so many opportunities to do this across the university. What we don't want to do as a team is offer up opportunities to engage which won't go anywhere. We know that your time is important, and we want to make sure that there are quality opportunities for you to volunteer with us, and that volunteering time is going to go somewhere important. And we talked about the mentoring program, which is long-standing. I want to make sure we can get more people involved in that. There are other areas in which our alumni can add value. Advisory boards were mentioned earlier.
links in with industry. And there are, if you so wish, opportunities to donate to some really, really good causes as well in terms of widening participation and access to education. And lastly, the fifth pillar that we're sort of aligning our work to is strengthening the feeling of belonging, which is one of our values at the university. How can we make our alumni feel that they belong to Heriot Watt? Cameron mentioned it when we spoke. You know, you get your degree, you graduate, and you go away for 10 years and you don't have a contact. We want to be lifelong connectors as an alumni team for you and the university. Whether you're opening our emails or connecting with us as a team or connecting with others, we want to make sure that there's an opportunity for you to feel proud about being an alumnus of Heriot Watt and to go out and talk about it in that way. So I thought it was really important for us to share that with the wider alumni community. We've had a discussion about that within the council. But I think in this forum, it's good to talk about that. So activity in 2021-2022 academic year, there's been lots, and I'm not going to go through it word by word because it's the end of the evening and we've had a lot of discussion, but I just want to give you a flavour of some of the things that we've done with our council, with our wider Watt Club members and as a team. So we hosted 18 events in the last academic year, which is a good number. We had over 1,500 registrations for those events. We mentioned the homecoming in Malaysia. We had activities in and around our 200-year anniversary in the Mechanics Institute conference, which was hosted by Patrick and organised by our team and Gavin, who's here this evening. We had a global gathering event, which was an attempt at pulling our global alumni community together online when we couldn't meet in person. We had lots of different events, a breadth of different topics and areas, including well-being, poetry, advertising and illustrating where people can connect in and make use of the benefits here. Heriot Watt online courses and net zero events. There was a plethora of different things, and I would encourage everyone to get involved in those events going forward. I'm not going to bore you with the ins and outs of our operational day-to-day, but we did deliver a communication plan, and over the course of the year we sent out 120 email campaigns, as they're called, and over 1 million individual emails. That's not to say you got 1 million emails in your inbox. I really hope you didn't. If you did, we're in trouble. But we sent 1 million emails out across the year. And what's encouraging on that basis is that we had around a 36% open rate, which is good. Actually, it's not bad in terms of the benchmark, sort of industry standard. And that is encouraging to us because it shows that we are now starting to send out information to different groups of alumni that is interesting and relevant to them. It's not just bombarding everyone with the same stuff and making sure that we're trying to tailor our offering to the right groups. We've just done an alumni survey in the last couple of months, and I'm sure people in this room and online will have contributed to that. So thank you to those people, and thank you to everyone who did. We had about 600 responses, which we're reasonably well pleased with. There's a lot to be learned from that survey. There's areas that we've been highlighted that we could address and look at and put more resources to and time to, and we will do that. And it was encouraging to have to celebrate some of the successes from that survey as well. So we're in the process now as a team of creating an action plan, and we'll communicate that in a year. We want to make sure that we're listening to that feedback, and as I said before, ensuring that our programming is alumni led. Something that was really encouraging from the survey was that awareness around our career service for recent graduates has vastly improved. So in 2018, we surveyed around the awareness of young graduates to access career support in terms of one-to-one appointments and consultations. There was some awareness, but it wasn't great. And in the last 3 years, it's jumped up, I think, around 19%. So it's great to see that awareness growing, and it's anecdotal, but we think that's because we're starting to promote that service to that group much more and more widely as well. And we know that young graduates are seeking that kind of support. Of course, I mentioned our 200-year anniversary, and I really enjoyed the conversation actually on the heritage and listening to yourself, Pat, and Cameron and Mike talking about it, because it reminds me as an employee, not an alumnus, maybe an alumnus through my staff membership, but of just, our roots as an institution, and Cameron alluded to it, that we were created out of an institution that was offering people who wouldn't have the opportunity to study and upskill that chance. And I think today we are very much still living those and breathing those values, and that as an employee actually makes me very proud. And it's not necessarily directly our alumni team activity, but it certainly is our development team has had a big hand in the 1821 appeal. And Cameron mentioned it earlier, but this was an appeal that supported access and inclusion and was a cornerstone of our university strategy, and supported 8 projects across the university, which will ensure that we are continuing to encourage people who have the ability and the potential to attend university but would not have the means to do so, to come here to Heriot-Watt and to change their lives, really, and for them to go out and to change the world in turn. So I was going to make a big thing about raising 4.6, but Cameron stole the thunder earlier on. So we have raised £4.6 million across the university. I think it's an incredible achievement. And what we should say at this point is that we are so grateful to our alumni, to our friends and our supporters for those donations. But not only for those donations, for raising awareness of the campaign, for the appeal, and for engaging in it generally. These 8 projects are now being rolled out, and we're really looking forward to seeing the impact of them. So thank you very much indeed for your support there. Andrew McKinnon actually was here earlier on this evening. He was one of our fundraisers involved. He's had to dash off, but if anyone would like to find out any more about the appeal, feel free to email the Watt Club email address. We'll give you a little bit more information about it. I'm going to mention now just 2 things that we've done recently, which are hot off the press, and one of those things is our digital alumni magazine. We've gone fully digital this year because we wanted to make sure we're being a little bit more sustainable with our printing. And we've produced an online magazine which is full of amazing insight to Heriot-Watt. It looks at our leading areas of research. It has an insight into our new sports programs here at Heriot-Watt, linked to the Williams Centre. We've got amazing interviews with alumni and friends who are working with Heriot-Watt to make a real difference. So I'd encourage you all to have a look at that and have a good read. We have also just completed a website refresh, as I mentioned, and this project really was about improving the user experience of our web pages. I'll be the first person to put my hand up and say we've been neglected in the last few years. How many years making this the website? Yeah, a long time now. I think they've been needing some attention for a while, and what we have done is made sure that the information on the website is much more accessible. So we're hopeful that the website is now a useful resource for our Watt Club members, as opposed to being somewhere where you have to go 10 clicks to find the information you're looking for. The look and feel of it's improved as well, and we've added some extra bits and pieces to make it more useful. An FAQ page, for example, and some quick links to information that we know is in high demand. So he's going to have a look at those and check those out, and I would encourage you to give us your feedback on that as well. We'll be pushing that more in the new year, but if anyone's got any feedback in the meantime, please do let us know. We've got lots planned for the year ahead, but I want to take this opportunity just to thank the alumni team. Actually, we've got members of the alumni team here in the room tonight, and who have organised this event and who have worked with and supported our alumni groups and wider community. And I want to name them. So Gavin, Jen, Catherine, Anna, Jackie, Gail and Chelsea. You're a wonderful bunch, and I think our alumni think so too. And I'm really proud that you're our first point of contact for our alumni team, for our alumni community, sorry. And I would urge anyone who wants to get in touch and find out more about how they can get involved with the Watt Club or Heriot-Watt more widely with us. We're always here to help. Of course, that's a lot of work that I've been talking about. I'm not going to say that we claim that that's all ours. That is work that has been generated and produced with the help and support of our alumni community. And it's my opportunity now just to say thank you very much for that support. We are here to serve you. We're here. Our team wouldn't exist if you weren't here. We're here to make sure that we're serving and looking after the alumni community the best way we can. We're just so appreciative of those who give up their time and engage with us. So I want to say to the wider alumni community, thank you for your support and collaboration. But importantly, I want to take this opportunity as well to thank and recognise everyone who's had a position on the Watt Club Council in recent years for your volunteering time, for your enthusiasm, for your advice, for your suggestions. It's so important that we have a strong relationship with the Watt Club Council and to ensure that we can deliver a good service to our alumni. So, you know, we're indebted to you for the time and effort that you've given us, and we really mean that. So, you know, to you, Mike, to you, Pat, as President and Vice President, Joe, you're in the room tonight, and there's others as well. So I'm say, you know, we really, really do appreciate it. You know, it's not always easy, and sometimes there's frustrations, but I'm just so appreciative of the good working relationship we've got, and I'm really excited about the fact that Kieran and the others are joining the council, and I'm sure 2023 will be a good year to drive activity forward. So that's everything from me. I'm happy to take questions. I was going to talk a little bit more widely about the university. I think there's lots happening, and there's lots coming in 2023. There's some really interesting work in around our global research institutes, and I think that's something to keep an eye out for. I'd be happy to take any questions, but I did want to kind of finish on sort of taking a quote from our recent alumni magazine. That's a quote from our Vice Chancellor and Principal, and he says, "A university is its people, and we draw inspiration and motivation from one another. And together, through our collective efforts, we can and do change lives." And of course, the alumni community and the Watt Club is absolutely integral to that. And I think that together we can do great things. And you might think it's a bit of a cheesy ending, but I'm really excited about our collective impact going forward. And I would just encourage anyone who's watching tonight to share that message and to encourage people to get involved. Thank you. Oh, and yeah, there is a QR code. This is you can find the Watt Club mag online. There's a QR code on the back of this little handout in your bags, and so you can read that there.
Hi everyone. My name is Mark. What I have is not exactly a question. I just want to give a lot of thanks to the university. I studied a master's degree in strategic planning 2016, and it was purely distant learning. So this is about my second time here in the university. I came when I graduated for the graduation ceremony, and now I'm here for the second time. And I mean, with all of that, I mean, it comes with the opportunity of being part of the alumni and all of that. So I just want to thank the university for providing such opportunity, extending to my country, Nigeria in Africa, you know, making it possible. Because I really must be honest, the degree has really opened so much opportunities for me, you know, in my professional space. I'm a finance professional, so that's really gone a long way. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really
and then I'll talk to you to see, because I live here now in the UK, so I would talk to the president, or maybe the new president,
maybe
also,
the new president,
and see where my local community will be, the closest to me will be, so I can pretty much, I mean, give back also in a way that I can. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. Gavin, I don't know if we've got anything online in terms of questions, or no, that's fine. Is there anyone still left? Still brilliant. So Adam's still on a bit of my thunder in terms of thank yous, but I suppose I wanted to do a few bits and pieces of thanks just to finish up. I think firstly to kind of all of the development alumni team. I know Chelsea, Gavin, Gail, and Adam are here tonight. I think Adam and Gavin in particular, you've been very supportive and engaging, have good discussions. I think share similar challenges in terms of how we get more effective in terms of doing what we do. But I just want to say thank you to you and to the team as well in terms of the support you've provided over the last few years, in particular around all the activity that we've got going within the Watt Club, and we're trying to drive through the council as well. So thank you for that, and thank you for tonight as well. I'd like to say thanks to Cameron again for coming along and agreeing to take part. And I'll have a bit of reflection in terms of the format as well. And I think it worked well rather than having somebody come up and just stand and talk to some slides. I think it was a bit different if it worked well. I'd like to say thanks to Joe and Raphael as well, who will finish up on council, just for their input and time and connecting in and really trying to get to grips with where we're positioned and how we actually get to the place where we can have a bigger impact. And I'd like to a special thanks to Pat as well, who has been a great counsel and supporter, and has done a fantastic amount of activity around the Watt Club over the last couple of years. So thank you for that, Pat. It's been really appreciated. And I think I'll wrap up there. And if anyone wants to get a drink outside, I think there's still some drink outside that's left. So feel free to grab a few drinks and have a bit more conversation. And I'll be around for a bit longer as well. So happy to chat as well. But thank you, everybody, and thank you, everybody online, for joining and listening in, and probably having breakfast, lunch, and dinner as well in the background. That's it. All done.